you said, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Force fast food chains to reduce their portion sizes.
Yeah.
Large fries on average are 25 to 30% bigger than they were in the 90s. Since people tend to eat whatever portion they are served, even if they aren't hungry, this would lead to fewer calories consumed, which leads to weight loss, which leads to improved metabolic health and lower inflammation, which leads to lower obesity and obesity-related disease rates. It would make a dramatically much bigger dent in public health than just swapping fat sources, referring to the seed oil nonsense that we're seeing right now, which won't do anything at all. And it is evidence-based. Wow. And I believe in your caption, you're like, tell me what I'm missing here.
Yeah.
I want to give you the floor. Talk about that.
The whole debate about, it's all about the fat source, and it's the specific type of food or the specific ingredient that's causing people to have higher inflammation levels, causing people to overeat, or whatever the case is that people are saying. And I disagree with that. I think you disagree with that too. Like, it's not about a specific ingredient.
Correct.
It's about
Completely agree.
Caloric intake. So my whole point is, and this is probably what you disagree with now that I'm saying it, is like, let's force fast food chains to regulate their portion sizes, to have smaller fries, right? Which I do think would go a much longer way than just swapping out the food sources. But I'm arguing with myself in my head right now. What you're going to argue with is like, hey, you can't really force fast food chains to do that. We live in America and they have the right to create their portion sizes. How is that?
Yeah. So we're in complete agreement regarding seed oils, this whole performative nonsense by the MAHA movement.
Yes.
Demonizing seed oils. It's nonsense.
And also I want to say, like, since that post, that was, I don't know, 2 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't really followed much anymore about like anything that like RFK or like any of these other MAHA people have been saying. Yeah. So like since that, I'm kind of in the dark.
I haven't seen it popping up as much, to be honest.
Which is good.
It is good. Yeah. Every time I don't see something popping up, it makes me think the reason we see things pop up is for the exact same reason that you said this post did well, is because things that are incendiary will get people's attention. And also, what is the media wanting us to look at? They're not wanting us to look at this. So what is incendiary right now? For me, there are a couple of things wrong with this. That I believe is wrong with it. The actually less important thing is I don't know how big of an impact it would actually have to force them to reduce their portions, just because if someone is now going to eat less at fast food, are they going to eat more somewhere else throughout the day? Yeah. To be honest, though, that's not my biggest concern.
A few people commented on that. Okay.
The compensatory eating. Yeah. Which I think is a fair discussion. Yeah. My major concern is the forcing, the regulations. Right. Not even just like an America thing, like we're freedom, because there's not 100% freedom. Right. There are rules and there's laws.
Like we probably need some rules in some.
Of course. Yeah. My concern is it becomes a slippery slope. Where does this go? Yeah.
Like, because what goes next? Like, do we have?
Well, so if we're going to regulate portion sizes at fast food restaurants, we're going to do it based on the calories in that food, as you had said, because the calories are 20.
It's like almost tripled in size, I think. Like,
so now do we do that at every restaurant? Right. And at what point do we say, like, okay, so Texas Roadhouse, or do we, or
do you
even
get
like
one basket of rolls? You can't have four.
Exactly. And what's the caloric allotment per meal? Yeah, that's allowed. Yeah. Does it change based on the individual size? Does it change? Like, so now I'm thinking this becomes a much larger issue that if we take it to its logical conclusion, it becomes far more regulatory with these top-down mandates, when I'm much more of an education over regulation type, and I'm also not big government at all. Right. I want to make the government as small as possible. And I also extrapolate this. I often, people call the government Big Brother, right? And I think it often is, people relate the government to a potential family member. I heard a comedian tell a hilarious joke. He was basically being like, you guys, I'm always interested by people who don't believe in any conspiracy theories. He's like, I've got one son and I lie to that motherfucker all the time. He's like, the government, like, you don't think they wouldn't lie to us at all? Like, never.
Very good point.
And so
what's harder to believe is the grand conspiracy theories, you know, like chemtrails, like they're poisoning us or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I mean, listen, I know nothing about that. I'm not even going to give my opinion because I know literally nothing about it. But what I think is, let's say you heard someone's spouse all of a sudden was going to be like, whoa, we got to put a caloric limit on the meals that we're having. You'd be like, that's a wild thing to say to your spouse. You cannot do that. But now we're going to say it's okay for the government to say how many calories you're allowed to have at this restaurant. Right. In my opinion, it's actually far more similar than different. Yeah. And if I'm looking at how behavior change is actually accomplished most successfully, it's not through not allowing things in the same way you don't say you're not allowed to have this food. You're allowed to have it. Let's work on improving your relationship with it. So that's where I disagreed with
Got you. No, and I don't even have a good rebuttal for that because, I mean, it probably isn't the most practical thing. One more thing that I've thought on similar line is like, what if we were to add like a sugar tax on like sugar sweetened beverages or something like that? But I guess, do you feel like that is a little bit different than my post there that you read? Like, as far as instead of regulating portion sizes,
imposed on the companies with the who's selling it, or is it imposed on the buyer?
On the buyer. Like if it costs more to buy sugar sweetened beverages.
So I think that is going to disproportionately affect lower income communities.
Agreed. Which is a whole other conversation because, you know, like WIC and like food stamps and stuff, to me, I don't understand why those things are on the menu. You know, like, can we get some juice maybe? Like, or something a little bit more healthy than sodas. But yeah, great point.
So my major thing is going back to this seeing things through my lens is I want smaller government. I don't like the government having control over what we're allowed to do, what we're allowed to choose. I don't like the idea of the government saying, we're going to charge more for this one, or like we're required, you're going to have to pay more. I don't think it would have the effect that people think it would have. I think we've actually seen, I believe Stan Efferding was talking about, we've seen this tried in Mexico. Didn't work out well.
With sugar, like taxing certain foods and regulations.
I might be mistaken, but I believe that's correct. And I, again, in my opinion, top-down mandates don't work as well as simple education. So,
but here's the problem with education, in my opinion, is like people don't have a good sense or a good BS detector for what like is correct information, you know? Does that make sense? So
of course.
Because I'm huge on education as well. I wish everybody followed Jordan's site. Me and Mike Dola were talking about you yesterday. This is a side tangent. We were like, man, I am so glad that Jordan exists because you are evidence-based. You are very aligned with mine and Mike's views on what we think about things. And you have a very large audience. And so you push good information to the masses. And we're like, man, we need more people like you, less people like some of these fearmongers who are going in the grocery stores with their shirts off. So anyways, that is a roundabout way to get to my point that like, what is educate, right? Like, how do people know the difference between, oh man, Jordan is educated and this is great advice, versus the person with their shirt off in the grocery store saying, hey, you have to avoid these ingredients.
Correct.
You know?
So this is where it's a wonderful point, and I appreciate the kind words. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Hopefully people start following you, and everything is in the show notes for your social media. But
thank you.
I would imagine you'd agree that if you go into a gym nowadays versus if you went into a gym in 2010, you see way more people doing better things.
Yes.
More squat racks.
Absolutely.
Better squat
I feel like
technique.
It's been a giant shift.
So this is the point proven in terms of the overall education of people has improved dramatically simply based on the how much information is being put out there. And I think people are now exercising better. We are now seeing more women's strength training. We're seeing people. I went to the gym in 2010. Squat racks were empty.
Yep.
Women were on cardio machines. Dudes were doing curls.
Isn't that crazy that was only like 15 years ago? Yeah.
Now I see women's strength training, powerlifting. There are women's only powerlifting competitions. There, like, I see great squat technique. I see farmer's walks. I see amazing push-ups. I see chin-ups. Like, the overall knowledge base of the average individual is much better. I go to the comment section on, I'm not going to name anyone, but people who are
I had to fight myself a while ago not to name somebody when I was talking about the fear mongers.
You go to people who are fear mongering influencers, nonsense creators, whatever, celebrities pushing bullshit products. You go to the comment sections and it's people saying this is nonsense. Like
that's good.
Thousands of comments of people being like, stop. Now there are still people who are preyed on by it, who still fall for it. But in my opinion, that's part of the educational process. In the same way that you were led to believe that that calories didn't matter. You, through education, you've learned, and now you can spread it. I was
never fully led to believe that, but it's something that I was very much like questioning and everything. But
I think that there's no perfect system, and everything there will be cons. There will be pros and cons to everything. But if I had to pick the best system, even though there will always be cons, it comes down to education over regulation. In the same way that I would never regulate what my wife or my daughters are allowed to eat. I would say like I would educate them on what might be the better choices on the given situation, but I won't regulate it, because I found regulation
doesn't work.
Dude, even if we, for example, like we outlawed alcohol, prohibition, people still drank.
Think about, true, but think about the effect that would have on public health. I've made a post about that too. Like if we were as hard on alcohol as we are on like seed oil or like some of these other specific ingredients.
Listen, I mean, we still allow cigarette sales, which, I mean, what I think is if we're putting a skull and crossbones on cigarettes, we should put a skull and crossbones on alcohol.
It's the same
I don't think
thing.
we should eliminate it. Right. I don't think we shouldn't allow people to do it. But if we're putting a skull, if we're being honest,
I agree.
Skull and crossbone goes on alcohol.
Dude, completely agree.
And I drink alcohol every week.
Yes.
Like it's, that's just, that in my opinion is education over regulation.
Yeah. No, I completely see that perspective. And so it's on people like the Jordan Syatt's of the world and on me to, like, it's almost like a responsibility for us to put out good educational content. And I try to tell myself that sometimes whenever I'm in those spells where like, man, I really don't want to post on social media, but it's helpful. And even my clients tell me that it's helpful. They like to see me posting and they learn things from my post that maybe they don't get in an individual check-in or something.
Yes.
You know? And it brings up questions to them. They're like, oh, like, you post on this. Can you tell me more about this? You know, and then it opens up. So then they learn, and then it's like a web effect, right? Like they know, oh, I've taught them this, and then they go teach their friend that, and then they teach their kids this. And now that I'm talking about this, it's really cool how like some of my clients like pass down these much healthier relationships with like food and body image and stuff to even their kids. Like they improve, but so do their kids, and like maybe their husband or their spouse also starts making some changes.
Generational health improvements.
Yes.
For generations because of your Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that, it's insane.
Dude,
when you think about it, it's like mind blowing.
And that is one of the things that, despite all of the nonsense that I get, the hate, the whatever I get, it's like, that's what makes it worth it.
Yes.